Okay, this is an assessment focus question. So these are questions that are very, like it encompasses the entire concept of the lesson. So let's go through this. Now, the hardest part of teaching math is common sense. Okay, so keep that in mind when we're doing this question. Let's read the entire question. A garage has the dimensions shown below. The attached shed has the same height as the garage, but is 1/2 as long and 1/2 as wide. So what they're saying here is that this little area right here would be half as long as this one. So this would actually be 2.5 meters and half as wide. So this width is half as long as this, which is the same thing as that. So if I go 7.8 divided by 2, I'm going to get 3.9 meters. So that would be the dimensions that you're missing, and it actually has the same height, so that's equal to 3.8 meters. Okay, because it's the same height here as here. All the heights are the same. Okay, it asks you for what is the surface area of the building. So we have two prisms. So let's call the bigger prism 1 and the smaller prism 2 for convenience sake. Now let's look at the prism. Would you ever count the bottom of a building as part of surface area? Like, would you build on that part, or would it be covered? Do you know what I mean? Like, it would never be part of the surface area. So I would not include the bottom in this. And I would never include the bottom of that. Okay? So really we only have the top of both surface areas, of both prism 1 and prism 2. Okay, so that's just the common sense part. Okay, ready? So what we're going to do is we're actually going to find the front and the back. So I'm going to call this the front here. So it has dimensions 3.8 by 5, because it would be the same as this over here as that. So 3.8 times 5 times 2, because there's a back. Okay. Now the top, let me erase this. Now the top has dimensions of 7.8 by 5. I'm going to try type it in just so it doesn't, maybe it doesn't sound so clicky. 7.8 times 5. And we're not going to times it by 2 because we're not going to include the bottom in. Okay, so there's no times by 2 because we're only talking about the top here. And then your right and your left, maybe I chose the wrong ones. Here's your right. So it's 3 meters by, 3.8 meters. Don't get confused with this height of 3. It's actually 3.8 meters by 7.8. So, let me type it in. So 3.8 by 7.8. And then again, we do have a right and a left, so we're going to times that one by 2. Okay, so I'm going to have to do use my calculator here. As I'm doing mine, you work on yours, okay? So I'm going to go 3.8 times 5 times 2 to give you the top one. And I'm just going to double check my answer because this is a very long question, so I'm going to make sure I'm doing it all right. So I'm going to check my calculations twice. And I got the same answer. So I'm going to go on to the next one. So 7.8 times 5, that's 39. I'm going to double check it. 7.8 times 5, and I get the same thing. So I'm going to do the same thing for the last calculation. So I get 59.28. 59.28. I'm going to double check my calculation to make sure I got it correct. Okay, that's what I got. So now we're going to have to add them all together. So 59.28 I already have in my calculator, so I'm just going to add to 39 and add to 38, and I get 136.28. And this is meters squared. I'm just going to double check my calculations. Make sure you guys are always double checking your calculations before you move on. It is so easy to make an error. like I just did on my calculator, so I'm going to try it again. 136.28. Okay. So I'm good with all my calculations. I have all the right shapes or sides of the prism I take into account. Keep in mind we don't take the bottom as one of our surface areas, so that's why we crossed it out, and that's why we didn't multiply that by 2. So we go on to the surface area prism 2. The front I am going to, and I'm going to erase a few things here just so that, because it's looking pretty gross. Okay. So I'm going to call this the front now. So that's my front right here. So it has dimensions of 3.9 by 3.8. We have a front and a back, so I'm going to times it by 2. Okay, and I don't like the clicking, so I'm going to do the top, which is 3.9 by 2.5. So I'm going to type that in because it didn't seem so irritating. 3.9 by 2.5 were the dimensions. Okay, and then your, oops, it's 2.5, sorry, I erased the wrong one. And then your right would be 2.5, that dimension, because it's the same as this dimension over here. So 2.5 by 3.8. So 2.5 by 3.8. Okay. And, oops, see, I already made a mistake. So easy to make a mistake. We forgot to times by 2 because it's right and left. So let's just double check everything before we continue on. Sorry. So we have the front, which is 3.9. I erased it here. This one was 3.9 meters. So it was 3.9 by 3.8 times 2 because front and back. 3.9 by 2.5 is the top, which is correct. And my right is 2.5 by 3.8. Perfect. And we times it by 2 because left and right. Okay. So now what we're going to do is just do all of our answers using our calculator. So 3.9 times 3.8 times 2. I got 29.64. I'm just going to double check it again. Always do your calculations twice. Good. I got the same thing. 3.9 times 2.5. I got is 9.75. I'm going to do it again. Make sure I got it correct. Yep, I got the exact same answer. And then my last calculation, 2.5 times 3.8 times 2. I got 19, but I'm just going to double check that. Doesn't look right. 2.5 times 3.8 times 2. No, that's good. So since I have 19 in my calculator already, I'm going to add it to 9.75. And add it to 29.64. And I get an answer of 58.31. Sorry, 0.39 meters squared. Because it's surface area. I'm just going to double check my answers again. Very easy to make a mistake. Hopefully I haven't made one yet. And I got 58.39. So all my calculations are good. So now what we need to do is we need to find the area of overlap. The area of overlap is this area right at the back here. So it is actually the back of the second prism. So let's go to the back of the second prism that has the dimensions of 3.9 by 3.8. So that would be my area of overlap. Okay, and I'm going to do that calculation. Definitely got that one wrong. 14.82, and I'm going to check it one more time because I knew my first answer was way out to lunch. I got like 7. 3.8 times 3.9. Okay, and I got that answer. Awesome. Meters squared. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to put all of our answers in here. So let me type it because that would probably be better. I'm going to get rid of that. Surface area of prism 1 is 136.28. Surface area of prism 2 is 58.39. And I'm going to subtract twice my overlap, which is 14.82. Okay, so let's do these calculations here. So I'm going to go 136.28 plus 58.39, and I'm going to get an answer of 194.67, and I'm going to have to subtract 2 of my overlap. So 2 times 14.82, which is 29.64. I'm going to double check these answers before I continue on. 136.28 plus 58.39. Okay, I did get 194.67, which is good. And then I got 2 times 14.82, 29. Perfect. So now let's do my last calculation, minus 29.64, and I get 165. I'll write this one in. 165.03 meters squared. And that is the right answer. I checked that at the back of the book. Okay, so that is the answer to number A. Again, taking into consideration that we do take in the windows and the doors for the total surface area, okay, but not the bottom. Okay, so now vinyl siding costs $15 per meter squared. The doors, the windows, and roof will not be covered with siding. How much will it cost to cover this building with siding? Okay, so we can't take into consideration the top of both. So we actually have to take this amount right here, 165.03, and we have to take away 39 because that's the top of one, and we got to take away 9.75, which is the top of the other. Let's start with just the roof first. Let's see if I actually got that. Okay, I'm going to transfer some numbers over. So 165.03, we're going to subtract the roof first. We're going to subtract the window. And we're going to subtract the 2 doors. Door 1 and door 2. That makes sense, correct? So the roof has an area of 39 and 975. So we're going to take this and we're going to subtract 39 and subtract 9.75. You know what I'm going to do? So I'm just going to erase this and I'm going to put it over here, 165.03. The area of the window is 1 by 1, so it's 1 meter squared. So we're going to subtract 1. Door number 1 has a dimension of 1 meter by 2 meters. So this is going to be 2. We're going to have to subtract that. And we have an area here of 2 by 3, which is 6 for door number 2. So we're going to very carefully, is that it? Let's see, vinyl siding, the doors, window, and roof will not be covered. Okay, so we took this total surface area, we took away the 2 portions of the roof, the window, and the 2 doors. So let's see what we get here. 165.03 minus 39 minus 9.75 minus 1 minus 2 minus 6. So I get an area of 107.28. meters squared. Each meter squared costs $15. So I'm going to times this by $15 per meter squared to find out the total cost. I get $1,609.20. $1,609.20. And when I just check the back of the book here, that is the right, so I know all my calculations are correct. This is the type of question you're going to get on your exam. So I hope you understand. If not, please let me know if you need me to email you any of these movies so that you can watch them again later on this evening. I hope you had a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow.